I guess the simple answer is, what else is there to do? What else is there to do? I've spent my entire life, from the time I was 10 years old until I was 60 in protest. In the 60s, when I was a teenager, we thought we were going to save the world, and we have not. So when I went on that first walk, I realized like there is another way, and that's moving forward in the spirit of love and bringing as many people along with me as possible. Women are the only ones who carry the water because we are the protectors. We wear long skirts when we carry the water because it's my understanding that this was our attire and traditionally, and also because it connects us to the earth. Skirts creates that vortex for the energy to come up from Mother Earth to that place where we bring life into the world. The staff is a protection for the water and for the walker. And there are so many stories about the Niga, the eagle. The eagle is the one that saved humans, and we revere them because they have such great vision. They can just see such a great distance. So we love and revere, respect the eagles, and they provide protection. As we hand the water or the staff from one person to the other, we say, Ninga Izhichige Nibi Onji. I will do it for the water. Just a word of encouragement, right? From one person to the next, from the person who's handing the water off to the person who's taking it. Ninga Izhichige Nibi Onji. When we stop at the end of the day, we make a circle on the ground with whatever is available. Sometimes it's rocks, or it could be flowers, or whatever is available on the earth. And we end the day the same way we began, with people offering their prayers. We sing, and then we stop. And then we go back to that very spot the next day and begin anew. They should go Asemaa first. So when we were growing up, that's what they tell you. Always have your tobacco with you. Tobacco is medicine for indigenous people, and it's indigenous to the Americas and to the islands. And so we use as an offering before we gather the water, but then also as we're walking throughout the day, if we come across flowing water, we offer our Asemaa because we're not only offering the water that we're carrying, but all of the water that we see. Bejugo Asemaa, tobacco first. Before you begin a journey, before you plant, before you gather something, you offer Asemaa. We use a copper pail because copper will clean the water. On my pails, I have either copper beads or cones from the jingle dress. Those cones from the jingle dress are a healing dance that young women do when someone's sick. And so just to hear the copper cones against the pail, just sort of that reminder as you walk that, what we're doing is to heal the water. I think, it's that stillness that we have on the walks, that quiet time really allows for those thoughts to come, what do we want this world to be like? In Transcendental Meditation, they say the mind always moves to an area of greater charm. And I think if you're not filling it up with MSNBC or something else, you're allowing that space for your mind to move to an area of greater charm. And we really can dream a new world.
It came off the stove boiling. So then we just wrapped it up and put it in a box and closed it up and away we went.
Can we go in there? Thank you so much.
Do you never forget those people who walked with you, or those experiences, and different people stand out for different reasons and had roles sort of develop as you walk. So it is this relative making kind of experience that happens, and that's the beauty of the walk, because we in this country desperately long for community, so that happens. We carried the red dress on the first day to honor all the missing and murdered Indigenous women and children all across North and Central and South America. The red dress was created as a symbol of those missing and murdered Indian women.
I'm a body artist photographer from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I came down with Sharon and Kidwin Youth Acting Ensemble. I did a piece with Nalia to bring the missing murdered Indigenous women along with us on the walk. Had the red hand printed on her face and a red glove that she wore to be symbolic of reclaiming the silence and the voicelessness that so many colonial pressures puts on Indigenous peoples of this land.
Those kids were part of the Ikitawin Youth Theater, and they're willing to drive across country to walk for 2 days and, drive back. And so they've been part of every walk in some way or another. They're the future. They're the future leadership. And when they come, they just brighten everything up.
So I'm Nicole, and right now we're at Hidden Falls Regional Park, right along the banks of the Mississippi River. A few years ago, Sharon and a group of people walked for the Mississippi River, and like they do on every water walk, they grew incredibly close and felt such love for each other that when it ended, they missed each other a lot. And so Sharon said, well, everywhere we are, every Sunday we'll meet along the banks of the Mississippi. And, there's people in Missouri and all the way down south that meet every Sunday. And this is the spot that we come. Once you go on these walks and you get to know water and you see how it's all connected, even if you've never met that body of water before, you love a river before you even meet it and before you know it. I've driven across the country before, and I never recognized stuff like I do when I've walked it. And there's no distractions either. Like when you carry the pail, you can't think about anything else or be anywhere else. Like if you're walking up a hill, like you feel your legs burning, and if it's 90 degrees in the desert, you feel hot. But at least for me, eventually those things kind of fade away, and then I'm just looking at the flowers that grow up from the ground and the horses that run to meet us and seeing the eagles that fly overhead. And I just realized that what I'm carrying in my hand is the reason for all the life that I'm seeing around me. And a lot of times it just kind of feels like, the land is kind of waking up wherever we go and following us around, and you just have to be looking around to notice it.
Hamadakiabi, Wakian Wasake Hemie, Nawasichuya, Nathan Berglin Amochia. Hello, my relatives. My spirit name is Strong Thunderbird, but my English name is Nathan. I was on the water walk with Sharon Day in Arizona, and now I'm here in my home, the Twin Cities. I didn't know much before my first water walk. I didn't know why we put out tobacco for the water, why we carry the water in a copper pail, or why we hold the staff. And I had to bring all that home and spread awareness about the waters where I live and how we all come together around the water to protect it, to offer it, and just to pray for it.
To love the land that you walk on, to love strangers you'll never meet. And, because when you love something, you have a responsibility to take care of it. And that's what I want my life to be. I want to have loved as much as I can, and to be able to say that I did all I could to protect it, to protect everything that I love.
In our prophecies, they said that in the time of the seventh fire, which, everybody estimates that we're in right now, that there would come a time where people have to make a decision as to how to be on Nimama Ki, on our Mother Earth. And in those prophecies, they didn't say indigenous people have to make a decision. They said people living on Nimama Ki have to make a decision to continue on a path of destruction or go to this other path that would lead to harmony with all things. So when I do the walks, I invite everybody, because if it's just up to indigenous people, we're doomed, right? Because our people have been decimated to such small population. We can't do anything by ourselves. We can have the most brilliant vision for the future. What kinds of communities we could create, what kinds of care for the earth and the water that we could create. But unless that's a shared vision, it's not going to happen. Years ago, when we gathered the water at the Gulf, Josephine Mandamin, the grandmother who started these contemporary movements, we had been walking about 4 days, and she said to me, Sharon, I had this realization that we orphaned this water, and now it's our responsibility to take care of it until we get it to where it's going. And when we poured into, at that point it was Lake Superior, she said, how long will it take this water to get home? But on its journey, it will confer with all the other waters, and it will tell them that there are human beings that still love and care for the water. I'm not sure what happens for other people, but for me, it's approaching that place where we're going to release the water is always a mixture of happiness and sadness, because you've been carrying this water for days, and it's almost being like a foster parent, where you have this child that you've been entrusted to take care of, and then they're going to go back home, and now it's their role to do all the things they need to do, and yet it's a lonely feeling because you're going to miss them. And so it's with this mixture of gladness and sadness that we pour the water back into the river. I can still picture it in my mind, that place where we were at, and the sun was shining and birds were singing, and we offered that water back.